the Zyrak Dominion thought the war was over. Their fleets scattered across the solar system, collecting trophies from the ruins of Earth. Cities turned to ash, oceans boiled, and the once blue planet became a graveyard of smoke and silence. On the alien capital world, Zyraxis Prime, the High Council celebrated. Holographic banners displayed images of burning human cities. The crowd roared, "Victory for the Dominion!" But not everyone celebrated. Far from the noise and glory, Admiral Kale, the commander of the Dominion's fleet, stood alone in his chamber, staring at the last transmission from Earth. He replayed it again and again, the image of a single human soldier raising a burning flag before disappearing in the blast. Something about it bothered him. Humans were supposed to beg, to surrender, to die quietly, but they never did. Kale frowned. "No species fights like that after losing everything," he muttered. "They're hiding something." Meanwhile, in the cold darkness beyond the galactic rim, Commander Hayes stood on the command deck of Fortress Station EOS. The massive station pulsed with power, its long-dead reactors now glowing again. Around it, thousands of dark shapes floated in silence, human warships hidden for decades. "Status report," Hayes ordered. Lieutenant Aaron replied, her voice steady but filled with awe. "Phoenix protocol complete. All systems online. Fleet count, 1,420 ships operational." Hayes looked through the viewport. A sea of ships stretched into the void, battlecruisers, carriers, dreadnoughts, all bearing the emblem of Earth long thought destroyed. "The galaxy thinks we're gone," he said quietly. "Good. Let's make sure they never forget us again." In the control center, massive holographic maps came alive, showing Zyrak-controlled space. Entire sectors glowed red. Human colonies once under Earth's banner were now enslaved or abandoned. Lieutenant Aaron looked at the display. "Sir, if we strike now, we can liberate the Vega system. They still have survivors." Hayes nodded slowly. "We'll save them. But first, we need to remind the Zyrak who they're dealing with." He turned to the fleet communication officer. "Prepare transmission. Secure channel. Priority Omega." The officer hesitated. "To whom, sir?" Hayes smiled slightly. "To every Dominion frequency. Let them know humanity still breathes." Moments later, across the galaxy, alien broadcast centers began to flicker. Screens went black. Then a single human face appeared, Commander Hayes. His voice was calm, measured, and cold. "To the Zyrak Dominion, you claim Earth is dead. You're wrong. You came for conquest. You will find extinction. This is not a war of survival anymore. This is vengeance." The message cut out. Panic spread across the Dominion. Their fleet scrambled to verify the signal, but no source could be traced. Some said it was a hoax, others a ghost transmission. But Admiral Kale knew better. "Find that signal," he ordered. "Now." His officers exchanged uneasy looks. "Sir, the coordinates, they point outside known space." Kale froze. "Outside?" "Yes, Admiral. Beyond the galactic rim." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. No one lives out there." But deep inside, a cold feeling twisted in his chest. Humans did the impossible all the time. Back at Fortress Station EOS, Hayes stood on the bridge as the massive hangar doors opened. Rows of ancient warships, black and angular, came alive. Engines ignited, their blue light cutting through the void like fire. "Fleet command to all ships," Hayes said. "Operation Dawn begins. Set course for the Vega system." The hum of power grew. One by one, the ships slipped into hyperspace, leaving streaks of light behind. As the last ship vanished, Hayes whispered, "Let's show them what happens when you try to kill Earth." Meanwhile, on Vega 9, a small human resistance cell received a strange message over their encrypted channel. Static, then a voice. "This is Commander Hayes of the Earth Defense Fleet. Hold your ground. Help is coming." Tears filled the eyes of the survivors. For generations they believed Earth was gone. But now hope returned. And in the darkness of the galaxy, something unstoppable had awakened. Cliffhanger. Admiral Kale's fleet receives a sudden alert. Multiple unidentified warp signatures entering Vega space. He stares at the data feed in disbelief. That can't be right. Those ships, those are human. The sensors show hundreds of human warships emerging from hyperspace, their hulls marked with one chilling symbol, the rising phoenix of Earth. The moon of Europa was silent, floating in the endless dark. Beneath its thick ice shell, hidden deep within ancient tunnels, a massive base came alive. This was Fortress Europa, humanity's last stronghold. Built in secret, forgotten even by most of Earth's governments, it was created for one purpose: survival. For decades it had slept. Now, after the fall of Earth, it stirred awake. Commander Hayes stood on the command platform, looking over a sea of engineers, soldiers, and AI control pods. The hum of machinery echoed through the walls. Screens glowed blue with data: fleet activations, reactor power, long-range scans. Status report, Hayes said calmly. Lieutenant Ria's hands moved across the holographic console. Primary cores are online. The Phoenix fleet is charging weapons. Reactor levels are stable. Estimated readiness, 87%. Good. Hayes stared at the main screen, the symbol of Earth, burned and broken. The Zyrak Dominion believes we're dust, he said. Let's keep them believing that a little longer. He turned to his crew. No public transmissions. No contact with the galactic network. We move in the shadows now. Around the room, silent nods. Everyone understood. The humans who survived couldn't fight a full empire head-on. Not yet. They needed stealth, patience, and fury. In the hangar bays, massive ships floated in zero gravity. They were nothing like the old human vessels destroyed in the war. These new ships were ghosts, sleek, dark, and near invisible on sensors. Built from nanocarbon alloy, powered by quantum reactors, and armed with smart AI war systems that could think faster than any living pilot. They were the legacy of Earth's last project, Project Revenant. Only a handful of officers knew it existed. Hayes had been one of them. He remembered the day it was buried beneath Europa's ice, hidden away in case Earth ever fell. That day had come. Rhea walked beside him through the hangar, watching the silent fleet awaken. "Sir," she asked quietly, "how long have these ships been here?" Hayes gave a small smile. "Since before I joined command. Maybe longer. The first Phoenix units were designed when we still believed peace was possible. And now?" "Now," Hayes said, his voice turning cold, "peace is gone. But humans remain." As they spoke, thousands of drones swarmed around the warships, connecting fuel lines, testing reactors, loading missiles. Every sound was mechanical. No laughter, no talk, only the echo of preparation. Rhea paused. "If the galaxy learns we're alive." "They'll panic," Hayes interrupted. "They called us Deathworlders for a reason. They feared what we could do." He looked out at the glowing ships. "Now they'll remember why." Far away, on the other side of the galaxy, the Zyrak Dominion High Command was celebrating. Their Supreme Chancellor, a tall scaled creature named Vorik, stood before his council, raising a silver cup. "To the end of humanity," he roared. "The death world is ash. No more human wars. No more chaos." Laughter filled the chamber. Music thundered. Billions watched the celebration on holoscreens. But one of Vorik's advisors interrupted, whispering urgently, "Chancellor, there are strange readings from the outer sectors. Energy spikes near the Jupiter moons." Vorik frowned. "Old debris, perhaps?" "Perhaps," the advisor said nervously, "but the signal pattern, it's organized. Almost like a fleet forming." Vorik growled. "Impossible. Earth is gone. Humans are extinct." Still, he ordered patrols to investigate. He laughed as he turned away. Let them chase ghosts. Back in Fortress Europa, a holographic map of the galaxy rotated slowly in the command room. Red markers showed Zyrak fleets. Blue lines marked their supply routes. Lieutenant Rhea zoomed in on one system. "Sir, this is Vorta Prime, one of their refueling hubs. No heavy defenses, no capital ships." Hayes studied the data. "Perfect for testing the Revenant fleet." He tapped the console. "Send Recon Group Alpha." No signals. No witnesses. "I want their command station erased." A young officer hesitated. "Commander, that's an act of war." Hayes looked at him sharply. "They started the war when they burned our home." No one argued after that. Hours later, in the blackness of space, 3 stealth ships slipped out from Europa's shadow. Their hulls absorbed all light. No engine glow, no heat signature. They were invisible death. Inside one of them, AI control nodes came online. Synthetic voices echoed softly. "Target locked. Trajectory calculated. Weapons armed." As the fleet drifted closer to the alien refueling station, human officers monitored from afar. Their faces were tense, eyes fixed on the glowing holograms. Rhea whispered, "They won't even know we were there." Hayes answered, "That's the point." At Vorta Prime, alien workers moved between massive fuel silos. The night sky was calm. Suddenly, alarms began to shriek. "Unknown interference. one officer shouted. I can't read it, our sensors are blind. Seconds later, 3 silent flashes appeared above the atmosphere. No warning. No signal. Just destruction. Explosions ripped across the facility. Shockwaves tore through space docks. Alien ships shattered into fireballs before their crews even realized what hit them. In less than a minute, the entire outpost was gone. From the shadows, the human fleet turned away. Mission complete. Back at Fortress Europa, the room was silent as the data came in. The screen flashed one message: Vorta Prime, destroyed. No survivors. Rhea looked at Hayes. They'll know it was us. Hayes shook his head. No. They'll think it was pirates. Or an internal explosion. They won't believe humanity could strike so fast. But deep inside he knew the truth would spread. Rumors would grow. Whispers would start in the Galactic Council. And soon, every empire would ask the same question. What if the humans are still alive? Meanwhile, on the far edge of Zyrak territory, a small patrol ship detected a faint transmission. It wasn't Zyrak code. It wasn't alien language at all. The message repeated again and again in the old Terran tongue. For Earth. The alien commander stared at it in confusion. For what? Before he could respond, his ship vanished in a blinding flash. In the dark command room of Fortress Europa, Commander Hayes stood alone watching the stars. He whispered softly. They celebrated our fall. Let them celebrate while they can. Because the next time they see a human ship. He paused, his voice turning to steel. It will be the last thing they ever see. The hum of engines grew louder. The Revenant fleet was ready. And somewhere, far away in the void, alien sensors flickered again. Unknown contacts. Unregistered ships. The ghosts of Earth were moving. Cliffhanger. Alien admirals begin to panic as one after another, outposts vanish, and every attack is followed by the same haunting signal. For Earth. The galaxy was silent. Every empire believed the war was over. The humans were gone. The Death World had burned. But that silence was about to break. In the far corner of Zyrak space, a mining colony orbited a small red star. It was peaceful, quiet, just another nameless outpost that fed resources to the Empire. Workers drank, laughed, and told stories about the war that ended humanity. They screamed when we burned their planet, one alien miner said, laughing. You should have seen it. Earth turned to fire. They didn't know someone was listening. A tiny drone, invisible to all sensors, hovered high above the outpost, recording every word. Thousands of kilometers away, inside a dark command chamber aboard a cloaked warship, Commander Hayes listened to the transmission. The alien laughter echoed through the room. Rhea stood beside him, her jaw tight with anger. Hayes didn't move. His eyes were fixed on the hologram of the outpost. Target confirmed, he said softly. No mercy. Far below, the miners kept talking, unaware of the 3 black shapes descending silently from the void. The air shimmered for a moment, then turned bright white. A beam of pure light struck the colony from orbit. In an instant, everything was gone. No explosion, no debris, just ash. The Zyrak Dominion never found out what happened that night. They called it a reactor failure. But whispers began spreading across the outer sectors. A ghost fleet, silent and unseen, was attacking them. 2 days later it happened again. A supply convoy disappeared between jump points. No distress call. No wreckage. Just silence. Zyrak Command ordered an investigation. Dozens of scout ships were sent out. None returned. And then the message came. Across military channels, a human voice crackled through the static, old, distorted, but unmistakable. For Earth. That was all. The entire galaxy froze. On Zyrak Prime, the Supreme Chancellor stormed into the war chamber. Who is doing this? He shouted. No species dares attack the Dominion. His intelligence officer trembled. We don't know, Chancellor. Our analysts found human encryption patterns in the signals. Impossible, Vorik hissed. Humans are dead. Then, sir, the officer said quietly, we are being hunted by ghosts. The Chancellor slammed his claws on the table. Send the fleet. I want these ghosts erased. Out in deep space, the Revenant fleet was already on the move. Inside the flagship Horizon Spear, Commander Hayes stood before a holographic projection of the Zyrak supply routes. Blue lights pulsed across the map, every point a confirmed strike. 23 Zyrak ships destroyed, Rhea reported. 0 losses. Hayes nodded slowly. Keep it quiet. They still don't know it's us. Rhea hesitated. Sir, maybe it's time they did. Hayes turned to her. His face was calm, but his voice carried weight. They need to fear us before they see us. The unknown is stronger than the visible. He paused. But when we finally reveal ourselves, it will shake the stars. In a faraway system, a massive Zyrak fleet regrouped near a refueling station, hundreds of warships armed with plasma cannons. Their admiral, a scarred veteran named Crother, gave the order, activate long-range scans. No more surprises. Suddenly every scanner went dark. The fleet's lights flickered. Static filled their comms. Then one by one their ships began exploding. No enemy signatures. No warnings. Just fire and silence. Crother shouted, "Return fire. Find the attackers." But there was nothing to see, only the burning wrecks of his own ships. And then the voice came again across every channel. For Earth. Back at Fortress Europa, the room was filled with quiet awe. The strike had been perfect. But Commander Hayes looked uneasy. "They'll adapt soon," he said. "They'll send hunters." Rhea nodded. "Let them come. We've got the ghosts." Hayes smiled faintly. "You still think of these ships as ghosts?" She tilted her head. "Aren't they?" He looked at the dark hulls on the screen, the automated ships of the Revenant fleet, moving with deadly precision, guided by human-built AIs. "No," Hayes said softly. "They're vengeance." Days turned into weeks. Across the galaxy chaos spread. Zyrak fleets vanished. Colonies went silent. Alien news channels called it a cosmic plague. Others whispered an older word, humans. Old recordings from the war resurfaced. Footage of Earth soldiers fighting to the last breath, of their warships ramming alien cruisers, of entire battalions choosing death over surrender. The galaxy remembered what humanity was. And it began to fear the dark again. On the third week, the Zyrak Dominion held an emergency meeting. The Chancellor looked tired now, his voice shaking. "How can we fight an enemy we can't see?" he demanded. An officer spoke up. "We have captured fragments of one of their drones. The metal is human in design. But the technology... Spit it out. It's 200 years ahead of ours." The room fell silent. The Chancellor whispered, "Then humanity has returned." Meanwhile, in the cold void between stars, Commander Hayes watched as another Zyrak fleet burned. The explosions reflected in his eyes. Rhea stood beside him. "How long until they realize we're here?" Hayes didn't look away. "They already know," he said quietly. "They just don't want to believe it." He turned to the comms officer. "Prepare the broadcast." "Sir?" Hayes nodded. "It's time they heard our voice." Across the galaxy, on every military frequency, a new signal broke through, powerful, clear, unmistakably human. "To all empires, all worlds, and all who cheered our death, this is Commander Nathan Hayes of the Terran Defense Command. You thought you destroyed us. You thought you burned our home. But humanity does not end in fire. We rise from it." The message played again and again, echoing across systems. On alien worlds, silence followed. Children of distant species looked up at the sky with fear. Their parents whispered stories about Earth, about the Deathworlders. And deep in the Zyrak Dominion, Chancellor Vorik stared at the transmission, his scales trembling. "Find them," he ordered. "Find them before they find us." At Fortress Europa, Rhea watched the broadcast replay. "The galaxy knows now," she said softly. Hayes nodded. "Good. Let them fear the shadows. Let them remember what humans can do." He turned toward the holographic map, dozens of red dots marking Zyrak worlds. "Phase 2 begins now," he said. "Full mobilization. Every Revenant ship. Every hidden outpost. The war is no longer secret." Outside, thousands of human ships decloaked, black, silent, endless. Their engines glowed faint blue as they formed into formation, stretching across the stars. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy saw the banner of Earth once more, a broken blue circle burning bright. The humans had returned. And this time they weren't fighting for survival. They were fighting for vengeance. The stars above Vega Prime twisted and tore open as hundreds of human warships dropped out of hyperspace. The black hulls of the ships shimmered in the starlight, each one bearing the symbol of a rising phoenix, the mark of Earth reborn. The silence lasted only a moment. Then the void exploded with soundless fury. "All ships, weapons free," ordered Commander Hayes. "Show the Dominion what happens when they come for our home." Human railguns ignited first, long streaks of blue light ripping across space, cutting through Zyrak cruisers before they could even form ranks. The Dominion fleet, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. "Raise shields. Return fire," shouted a Zyrak commander aboard the flagship Varen's Wrath. But it was too late. Two dreadnoughts, Horizon's Flame and Dauntless, fired their main cannons in perfect sync. Twin beams of plasma tore the Zyrak flagship in half. The explosion lit up the entire Vega system like a small sun. In the chaos, Hayes stood firm on the bridge of the ES Revenant. His face was calm, his tone steady, but his eyes burned with cold anger. "Target priority," he said. "Destroy their command ships first. Cut their eyes and ears." Lieutenant Aaron nodded. "Understood, sir." Uploading targeting data. The tactical display filled with red icons, each one a Zyrak capital ship. Then one by one, they began to vanish from the map as human warships tore through them with brutal precision. Across the Dominion fleet, panic spread like fire. "This isn't possible," cried one officer. "Humans were extinct." Another shouted, "Their ships, how are they so fast?" Admiral Kale, watching from his warship Zyraxis blade, clenched his jaw. He stared at the tactical feed showing hundreds of human warships moving in coordinated attack waves. "This isn't a ragged rebellion," he whispered. "This is an army." Kale turned to his crew. "Prepare all available fleets. We are at war again." On the human side, the Resistance fighters on Vega Prime watched from the surface as the battle raged above them. Through the black clouds and burning skies, they saw flashes of blue light, the unmistakable sign of human railguns. One of the survivors, a young woman named Lyra, whispered, "It's them. It's really them. Earth has returned." The old Resistance leader smiled weakly. "Told you, child. Humans don't die easy." Meanwhile, in orbit, Commander Hayes received a transmission from the Resistance. "Commander, this is Vega Resistance Unit 12. We are under heavy fire from Dominion troops on the surface." Hayes turned to Aaron. "Deploy the dropships. Send in the Titans." "Yes, sir," she replied, already relaying commands. Massive hangar bays opened under the human cruisers, releasing troop carriers and mechanized assault units, Titan-class walkers, armored machines once feared across the galaxy. They dropped through the atmosphere like falling meteors, engines roaring. The Dominion troops on Vega Prime looked up as the sky split open. Then came the thunder. Titans landed with seismic impact, crushing Zyrak tanks beneath their feet. Their cannons roared, shredding alien formations as human soldiers poured out behind them. For the first time in centuries, the words "Earth Forces" echoed across a battlefield again. "Push forward," shouted Captain Mira, leading the ground forces. "Drive them off our world." Back in orbit, Admiral Kale's fleet finally regrouped. He ordered his ships to form a defensive perimeter. "Focus fire on their carriers," he commanded. Dozens of Zyrak cruisers turned their weapons on the Dauntless, bombarding it with plasma bolts. The ship's shields flickered, then failed. The hull began to fracture. Lieutenant Aaron gasped. "Sir, Dauntless is hit. She's going down." Hayes didn't hesitate. "Order the Revenant and Solar Lance to cover them. No ship is left behind." Human warships shifted formation instantly, forming a defensive wall as rescue pods launched from the burning vessel. "Get them out of there," Hayes said. "We didn't come back from extinction to lose family." As the Dominion fleet pushed forward, Kale suddenly noticed something strange on his sensors. A massive energy spike, directly behind the human formation. He frowned. "What are they doing?" Then his eyes widened in horror. A shadow moved in the darkness, a colossal human ship unlike any seen before. Over 5 kilometers long, it emerged slowly, its hull marked with ancient human script, "S Vengeance." On the Revenant, Aaron whispered, "Sir, is that?" Hayes nodded. "The Vengeance, Earth's first and last super dreadnought. She was built for one purpose." He opened a direct line to the giant ship. "Vengeance, this is Commander Hayes. You know your orders." A deep voice answered through static. "Target locked. Firing main cannon." The Vengeance's core glowed white-hot. A massive beam of energy erupted from its front, slicing through the center of the Dominion fleet. Ships disintegrated instantly, entire battle lines erased in seconds. The energy blast carved a burning path through space, leaving nothing but wreckage and silence. Even Admiral Kale was speechless. His fleet, once proud and unstoppable, was now scattered and broken. He looked at the smoking debris, then at the hologram of the Phoenix emblem that flickered across his screens. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "So this is humanity's fury." On the human command deck, the crew watched as the battle quieted. The stars were filled with drifting wreckage. The Dominion fleet was shattered. Commander Hayes finally spoke. Send word to the survivors on Vega. Tell them the system is free. Cheers erupted across the bridge. But Hayes didn't smile. He looked at the map of the galaxy, still filled with Dominion-controlled worlds. This was just one system, he said quietly. The war has only begun. Cliffhanger. Admiral Kale, aboard his damaged flagship, sends a private message to the Dominion High Council. The humans have returned. And they are no longer fighting to survive, they are fighting to avenge. The galaxy had gone silent. For the first time in centuries, no one cheered the Zyrak Dominion's victories. No parades. No songs. Only fear. Across dozens of alien worlds, holoscreens repeated the same shocking footage. Human warships rising from the void, the Zyrak fleet burning over Vega Prime, and Commander Hayes' cold voice echoing through every broadcast channel. You tried to erase Earth. Now we erase your empire. On the Dominion capital world, panic filled the streets. Alien leaders shouted for reinforcements, for explanations, for someone to stop the advancing human fleet. But no one could. Entire sectors were falling within days. Human warships moved with frightening coordination, hitting supply lines, communication hubs, and command stations. The old saying returned to the galaxy, whispered in fear. When humans fight, they don't stop. On the ES Revenant, Commander Hayes stood in the center of the bridge, surrounded by his officers. Status report, he said. Lieutenant Aaron responded, her eyes on the holographic map. 3 Dominion sectors liberated. Civilian colonies joining us voluntarily. Resistance movements rising everywhere, sir. Hayes nodded slowly. Good. Keep momentum. Every world we free gives us another ally. He turned toward the viewport. Out there the stars looked peaceful, too peaceful. He knew the Dominion wasn't finished yet. Meanwhile, on Zyraxis Prime, Admiral Kale faced the Dominion High Council. The chamber was filled with tension and fear. A counselor slammed his clawed hand on the table. You said Earth was destroyed. Kale glared at him. We thought it was. We burned their cities, shattered their fleets. But humanity hit. They prepared. Another shouted, then destroy them now. Kale's tone was sharp. You don't destroy humans. You contain them, or they come back stronger. The council fell silent. Finally, Kale added, if we don't end this quickly, the Dominion itself will burn. In orbit over the world Karnas 4, the Dominion gathered its largest surviving fleet, nearly 5,000 ships. It was their final defense line. Admiral Kale took command personally. He knew the humans would come here next. Vega had fallen, their colonies were rising, and their momentum was unstoppable. Still, he prepared his fleet with grim focus. This time, he said, they'll face the full might of the Dominion. Hours later, hyperspace ruptured across the Karnas system. Human ships appeared, not hundreds this time but thousands. Every ship carried the Phoenix emblem. Every crew carried vengeance. The radio chatter filled the air. This is the ES Vengeance, ready to engage. This is Solar Lance, locked and loaded. This is the Revenant. Begin the assault. Then Commander Hayes' voice came through, calm as ever. For Earth. And the stars ignited. The battle that followed was beyond imagination. Zyrak ships formed defensive walls, firing everything they had. But human tactics were unpredictable, fast, brutal, precise. Dreadnoughts cut through enemy formations like blades through water. Carriers launched swarms of fighters that danced between plasma bolts, striking engines and reactors with deadly accuracy. Admiral Kale watched in horror as wave after wave of Dominion ships fell. This is not a war, he whispered. It's punishment. On the surface of Karnas 4, Dominion soldiers tried to prepare ground defenses. Then shadows fell from the sky. Titan walkers. Drop pods. Human infantry in advanced battle armor. The ground shook as Earth's forces landed. Resistance fighters from other worlds joined them, chanting one word, Earth. 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 The Dominion's will to fight began to break. Inside the Revenant, Hayes watched as victory drew near. Enemy flagship isolated, Aaron reported. It's Kale's ship, sir. Hayes hesitated for a moment. Open a channel. Static crackled. Then Admiral Kale's voice came through. Commander Hayes. I should have known. You were never dead. Hayes replied coldly, no. We were just waiting. Kale's tone softened. You could have rebuilt quietly. Hidden forever. Why this? Hayes' eyes darkened. Because you made it personal. You burned our home. Now we burn your empire. A moment of silence passed. Then Kale said quietly, then I will die as a soldier. And he cut the channel. The Vengeance fired its main cannon one last time. The blast tore through Kale's flagship, vaporizing it instantly. The Dominion's command network collapsed. The rest of their fleet began to retreat in chaos. "Cease pursuit," Hayes ordered. "Let them carry the message." Lieutenant Aaron looked at him. "Message, sir?" Hayes turned toward the viewport, where burning wrecks drifted through the void. "That humanity doesn't lose. We rebuild. We return. And we remember." Weeks later the war was over. Xyraxis Prime surrendered unconditionally. The Dominion's banners fell across their worlds. And across the galaxy one name spread again: Earth. Not as a myth, not as a ruin, but as a power reborn. On the bridge of the Revenant, Commander Hayes stood watching the sunrise over a liberated world. Lieutenant Aaron approached. "It's over, sir." Hayes didn't answer right away. Then he said quietly, "No, it's never over. Not for us. But maybe now, the galaxy will finally understand." He turned to the stars and spoke the last words of the war. "You can destroy our cities. You can silence our worlds. But you can never kill what makes us human." The fleet drifted through the dawn, the Phoenix emblem gleaming bright against the light of a new day. The skies above Earth were no longer blue. They burned red. Alien warships, huge, black, and endless, covered the heavens like a storm of metal. The Xyrak Dominion had come and they brought fire with them. Their plasma cannons turned cities into oceans of flame. Their orbital strikes shattered mountains. Earth's defense fleets fought bravely, but one by one they fell. Billions watched from bunkers, from shattered rooftops, from the last surviving satellites, as the final human ship exploded in orbit, a silent flash across the sky. Then came the message. A deep, proud alien voice echoed across the galaxy. "The Death World has fallen. Earth is no more." Cheers erupted on hundreds of worlds. The Galactic News Network broadcast endless celebrations. Alien empires congratulated the Xyrak Dominion for ending the human threat. For years, humanity had been called monsters. Unpredictable, violent, too dangerous to exist among peaceful stars. Now the galaxy believed the nightmare was over. Cities turned to ashes. Oceans boiled. Earth went dark. And the signal, humanity's final distress beacon, slowly faded into static. But far away beyond the rim of known space, something caught the echo of that last cry. A faint pulse of radio noise reached a lonely moon, hidden in the shadow of a dying star. Beneath the frozen surface of that moon, a secret base stirred awake. Outpost Echo 7, one of Earth's most classified stations. Inside, dim red lights flickered on. Machines that had slept for years began to hum. Commander Hayes stood in the command room, staring at the main screen. His uniform was old, the Earth emblem faded, but his eyes were sharp, calm, steady, cold. On the display, the words appeared in broken text. "Earth has fallen." For a long time no one spoke. Around him, a small crew of surviving officers and engineers watched in silence. Some trembled. Some cried quietly. Lieutenant Rhea whispered, "So it's true, they finally did it." Hayes didn't blink. His voice was low but firm. "No, they think they did." He stepped forward, pressing his hand against the control panel. The entire room responded, glowing lines of code ran down the walls, deep hums vibrating the floor. "Then it's time," he said. "Activate Protocol Phoenix." At those words the room changed. Warning lights flashed. Alarms echoed. Huge metal doors slid open, revealing dark hangars buried beneath layers of ice and rock. Massive shapes rested inside, ships unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Sleek, silent, black as night. Their hulls were engraved with old Earth markings that hadn't been used in centuries. The engineers stared, stunned. "Sir," one whispered, "I thought Phoenix was just a rumor." Hayes looked at her, eyes like stone. "It was never a rumor. It was insurance." He turned toward the observation window, where the distant stars burned faintly in the void. "They wanted to erase us," he said quietly. "But humans don't die that easily." As he spoke, the base's systems began to roar to life. Power cores charged, long silent reactors ignited, and automated drones began moving through the hangars. The ground trembled. In the dark, the outlines of enormous engines glowed faint blue. The hum grew louder. Out in the cold emptiness of space, sensors on distant alien satellites picked up faint readings, strange energy signatures near the edge of the void. Xyrak analysts dismissed them at first. "Old debris," they said. "Ghost signals from the war." But then, the signals repeated. Stronger this time. Patterned. Intelligent. Meanwhile, on Outpost Echo 7, Commander Hayes stood before a holographic projection of Earth, now marked as destroyed. He clenched his fist. "You burned our world," he whispered. "You laughed at our end. Now, it's our turn." He turned to his crew. "Bring every ship online. Prep AI command systems. Lock in coordinates for the Zyrak front." Lieutenant Rhea hesitated. "Commander, are we ready for war?" Hayes gave a small grim smile. "We were born ready." The room darkened as the power shifted to the hangar bays. Deep under the ice, something ancient awakened, machines built from Earth's last secret project. The ships were unmanned but alive in their own way, self-thinking, self-learning. They had been sleeping for decades, waiting for one command. Now they had it. Protocol Phoenix, active. One by one, enormous engines flared to life. The hangar walls split open, and the void welcomed them like a black ocean. Outside, silence ruled, until the first ship emerged from the moon's shadow. No name. No registry. Just a single glowing symbol on its hull, a broken blue circle, the emblem of Earth. As it moved into the starlight, hundreds more followed. A forgotten fleet reborn from ashes. The last light of humanity. Commander Hayes watched as the ships vanished into the darkness. His voice came through the comms, steady and cold. "The galaxy thinks we're gone. Good. Let's keep it that way, until we strike." In the distance, alien sensors finally detected movement, unknown objects leaving the edge of human space. The Zyrak Dominion sent a routine patrol to investigate. They never returned. The war wasn't over. It was only beginning. Cliffhanger, unknown ships power up in the darkness, and the stars themselves seem to tremble.